Hitting a rank is visiting Disneyland. Belonging a rank is engineering the roller coaster.
You can reset your MMR 100 times, but you can't reset mechanics you never built.
Growth can raise rank, but chasing badges is not growth.
Real growth pushes your rank up as a side effect. But if your whole reason for improving is just to get a shinier badge, you're doomed.
So many players keep telling themselves, once I hit Diamond, then I'll know who I am.
Right now, your mechanics are garbage, your game sense is microscopic, and your self-control is non-existent. And you want to rush to define yourself with a badge? Fine, I'll help you. You are terrible.
Let's start from your first note, Lexi. Smurf friends carry you to platinum. When I read it, I had this very vivid image in my head. A player sits in the Discord call, their friends are doing all the heavy lifting, entries, trades, clutches, and yet the badge goes up on everyone's profile. The celebration happens, the screenshot is taken, but inside, nothing has shifted. That player didn't become platinum. They were just sitting in the lobby when the work was done.
Yes, boy. And what did they actually learn on that climb? They learned how to lurk every single round without context. They learned how to beg for trades instead of taking duels. They learned how to farm exit kills after the round was already lost. That's not Valorant, that's practicing avoidance. And then the illusion shatters the moment those friends stop queuing. Suddenly, it's 217 in bronze, raging in every chat until the account gets flagged and banned. And what happens next? A brand new account, another fresh start. But of course it's not fresh, because the nightmare was never the account. It was the player themselves. You can reset your MMR 100 times, but you can't reset mechanics you never built. You didn't log the reps, so you don't have the muscle memory. New bottle, same vinegar.
And this is where your line about 2 to 17 really struck me. You wrote, "It's not just a bad day, it's a measurement." Because when the scaffolding disappears, what's left isn't randomness, it's exposure.
Exactly. That 217 is the tape measure wrapped around an empty toolbox. It shows you that nothing was ever built. The first bullet leaves before the feet stop. The second bullet is panic. The third bullet never fires because you're already dead.
And then comes your Disneyland analogy. Hitting a rank is visiting Disneyland. Belonging a rank is engineering the roller coaster.
Yeah, boy. Hitting is buying a ticket, posting a selfie, and telling everyone you were there. Belonging is crawling under the ride with grease on your hands, checking bolts, fixing rails, making sure the car doesn't fly off the track at turn 3. And boosted players? They've never touched a wrench.
Which is where I thought of Hardstack episode by you and Mino and the concept, play for building. There we argued progress is about structuring your suffering, not avoiding it. Taking a weakness, exposing it, repeating it until it changes. And what we are describing here is the mirror opposite. Hitting without building.
Exactly. Tourists don't build, boy. They want the fireworks, not the framework. The dopamine, not the discipline.
Let's slow it down with some concrete habits, because I want listeners to really see the contrast. What does belonging to a certain rank actually look like?
It means that the 2 to 17 we mentioned earlier flips into 17 to 2. A real diamond dropped into a bronze lobby will go 17 to 2 in the opening rounds. Why? Because their speed of movement, their accuracy, their reflexes, the way they command teammates, all of that has been built over time, through many crises, through many losses. Like AC says,
they stay in the mud, sis.
Exactly. They stay in the mud. They built real experience of the game instead of spending their life defending their ego. A true diamond injected into bronze must look like a storm in a greenhouse because they don't mess up the fundamentals. Belonging to a certain rank means the basics are fully absorbed.
Exactly.
Hitting a rank is just a short vacation. It doesn't guarantee you've absorbed anything. Picture a second contact into a ascent with a flash. If you need to check the minimap to see whether the flash landed, you're already late. Belonging to that rank means you feel that timing.
Yeah.
Tourists never feel it. However, when hitters fail those basics, instead of admitting it, they camouflage the mistake with rage. Blaming teammates. Why no trade? Blaming utility. Why no smoke? The rage becomes camouflage. So, rage is theater, boy. They whiff because their crosshair's too low, but instead of saying, I need to fix this, they scream at someone else, as if volume could move their crosshair to head height.
And here's where solo queue comes in. Because in a stack with friends, you can get away with those habits. You can lurk badly, you can collect exit kills, and no one calls you out. Your friends know they're boosting you, so it's tolerated. You're like a child in the sandbox. You can play however you want because your impact is effectively zero. But in solo, the randoms don't let you hide. They'll flame you in the first round you try it.
Exactly, boy. Solo is the purge. No protection, no scaffolding. If you're pretending, the game exposes you immediately. You either adapt or you get roasted into silence.
Which is why I think solo queue could be an entire episode on its own.
Yep, already talked with Eva, boy. She was considering giving it a slot.
Yeah, and it would be worth it. Because solo queue is where you face everything raw. EOMM quirks, smurfs on the other team, lost trick spirals, even those magic bullets that seem to find your head with 2 precision.
You mean getting 8 opponent Spectre bullets from long distance, all on target, while your 3rd Vandal bullet is landing on the moon instead?
Exactly.
Yeah, and the adaptation curve is brutal, boy. When all you ingest is poison, you either build resistance fast, or you quit.
And that's the other function. Solo queue immediately separates players. Those who can endure the chaos and those who walk away.
That's true. Boosted players are the ones who stay for a drink. They hang in the lobby, but they're already mentally checked out. While solo selects for patience, the ones who can survive through silent teammates, tilted teammates, the whole circus, and still perform. Solo doesn't just test mechanics, it tests temperament. That's why it's the acid test, boy. You most likely hit a rank in a stack, but you definitely belong to the rank by doing solo queue.
And if we ever record that solo queue episode, that's where I'd want to go deeper. How solo isn't cruelty, it's clarity. The stressors are sharper, yes, but they're also honest.
Yeah, boy, because when you strip away the scaffolding, you see yourself naked in the mirror. No filters, no excuses.
Alright, Lexi, the second big note in your report is titled Rank versus Growth. When I first read it, I paused because you make this very sharp distinction. Rank can be unstable, manipulated, gifted. Growth isn't. And I thought, that's probably the sentence most players need to hear out loud.
Yeah, boy, because people worship rank like it's permanent, but it's not. It's a slot machine. Win a string of games because the matchmaker smiled on you, boom, new badge. Lose a string, drop back down. That's not growth, that's dice. I mean, rank moves up and down based on external factors you don't control.
Sure.
Teammates, matchmaking quirks, even smurfs on the other side. It can be gifted, it can be borrowed, it can be manipulated a little. But growth? That's internal. That's yours. What I want to say is that growth doesn't care about whether Riot hands you plus 22 or minus 18. Growth is the boring stuff you built yesterday that shows up again today, and tomorrow, and the next week.
And this is where you separate growth into 2 categories, which I really liked. Visible stats and invisible stats. Let's unpack that.
Sure. Visible stats are the easy ones. Headshot rate, map win percentage, econ efficiency. They're cheap, public, they show up on trackers and profiles. Everyone loves to screenshot them because they make you look like a real player. And they are important, let's be fair. They're signals of technical ability, but they're not the full picture. You can farm headshot rate and aim duels all day long and still be a disaster as a teammate. You can win a map 10 times in a row because you queued with a stack of gods, and it says nothing about your impact.
And that's where your second category comes in, invisible stats. These don't show up on the scoreboard, but they define whether you're actually becoming stronger or just orbiting around the same weaknesses.
Yeah, invisible stats are things like rage control. Can you stay functional after 2 dumb rounds, or do you collapse into flame? Communication fluency. Do you deliver clean, short info when the round is hot, or do you go silent? Teamwork under pressure. Do you still trade the guy you hate, or do you let him die because your pride is louder? And self-sabotage. Do you notice when you're throwing your own rounds, and can you recover?
It's funny, because when you list them out like that, they sound like mental muscles. Like the difference between just flexing a bicep in a mirror and actually training your core. One is easy to show off, the other actually keeps you standing.
That's exactly it, boy. Visible stats are the mirror selfie. Invisible stats are the balance in your spine.
I also read an insightful comment on your notes about boosted players. Let me check. Here. Boosted players don't have either. They don't have the visible stats because their headshot rate, their recon efficiency, their map wear rate collapses the moment they're not carried. And they don't have the invisible stats because the second pressure shows up, they tilt, they rage, they vanish.
Exactly. You open their tracker and it's comedy, boy. 40% headshot rate? No. Win rate on Haven? Tanked. Econ? They're broke by round 3. And then you peek into their invisible stats and it's worse. They flame instead of fix. They mute instead of speak.
Yo, it sounds like a rap. They flame instead of fix. They mute instead of speak. They rage instead of chill.
They flame instead of build.
They queue instead of think.
Okay, whatever.
Alright, let's make it real with an example. Visible stat. You entry a site. You win your duel clean, headshot, entry secured. Great visible moment. Invisible stat. In the same round, your Sova whiffs his dart, your Sage panics and wars wrong, and you don't flame them. You still close the round, you still give calm info. That invisible performance is the reason the win sticks.
Yeah, boy. And the irony is, the invisible stat is actually harder. Anyone can hit a headshot once. Holding your voice steady while everything burns, that's growth.
You also mentioned recovery from self-sabotage. That one really stood out to me. Because everyone self-sabotages. We all overpeak, we all get greedy, we all ego push. But the difference is whether you can catch it in the moment.
Exactly. A tourist will throw 3 rounds in a row and keep saying, unlucky.
Yeah.
A builder will throw 1, stop, and adjust. Invisible stat. It's like crash recovery software in your head.
It reminds me of the old sports saying, great players have short memories. Not because they forget, but because they recover.
Yeah, boy. They process the pain, integrate it, and move on. That's invisible growth. And boosted players never build that software. They just reinstall excuses.
Let's bring economy back in here, because it's a good visible versus invisible example.
Oh yeah.
Visible. Did you buy the right rifle on a buy round? Invisible. Did you actually think about how your credits this round affect the next 2?
Yep. Visible stat is I bought a Vandal. Invisible stat is I skipped light armor because I'm carrying alt next round.
Exactly.
One is shopping, the other is engineering. And so much of ranked anxiety comes from confusing the two. Players tend to unbalance over the visible. HS percent down 3 points, win rate dropping 5%. And they ignore the invisible, which is where real stability comes from. That's why people feel lost. Because they're staring at the public numbers and wondering why their badge won't hold. The badge is a reflection of invisible stats, not visible ones.
So the core message of this chapter is, rank can be gifted, even stolen. Growth can't. It's yours, and it shows up in both visible and invisible stats.
Yeah, and boosted players, they have neither, boy. Their visible stats collapse, and their invisible ones were never born.
Which is why rank versus growth isn't just a distinction, it's a warning. If you chase the badge without building growth, you're building nothing at all.
It's like flexing in the mirror with fake weights. Looks good for a second, then the mirror cracks.
Alright, let's close this section clean. Rank is a picture, growth is a process. One can be given to you, the other can only be earned.
And the only players who last, boy, are the ones who stop worshipping the picture and start investing in the process.
Alright, Lexi, this is the section in your report that actually gave me goosebumps. You wrote, "Don't let the game tell you who you are." When I read that, I thought, this isn't just analysis, this is a manifesto.
That's exactly what it is, boy. Players are out here outsourcing their entire identity to a number on the screen. They're addicted to the badge, desperate for Riot to stamp them with meaning, and it's pathetic.
The way you put it, growth can raise rank, but chasing badges is not growth. And that distinction is brutal, but true.
Yes, real growth pushes your rank up as a side effect, but if your whole reason for improving is just to get a shinier badge, you're doomed. Growth doesn't work under fraud conditions. You can't fake fundamentals. You can't fake self-control.
And then comes the dare. You literally ask players, forget rank for a couple of months. 2 months. Just leave it aside. And when I read that, I thought, it's the simplest test, but probably the one almost no one will pass.
Doubt it, boy. Because here's the truth. Right now, your mechanics are garbage, your game sense is microscopic, and your self-control is non-existent. And you want to rush to define yourself with a badge? Fine. I'll help you. You are terrible. Now you have your badge.
That line right there, it lands like a hammer. And it's not just for the drama, it's to break the illusion. Because so many players keep telling themselves, once I hit diamond, then I'll know who I am. And the badge feeds that addiction.
Exactly. The badge is a drug, boy, and Riot is the dealer. But don't let Riot define you. You don't even know yourself yet. Let's put it in practical terms. If you're bronze 2, but you've got 50% headshot accuracy, if you're calm in comms, if teammates add you every game because you make their life easier, you're quote-unquote humiliating Riot's system. You're showing how broken the badge really is. That's the power move. Not climbing for a badge, but stacking the things that matter. The visible stats, your aim, your map control. The invisible stats, your composure, your communication, your recovery from tilt. When you max those out, your identity is bulletproof. You've got something for your time invested. Facts. Imagine that. You're bronze, but every lobby feels lighter because you're in it. You don't escalate arguments, you diffuse them. You don't rage, you anchor. Even the toxic teammate who flamed you 2 rounds ago is sending you a friend request at the end. That's identity. That's growth. And it pisses people off, boy, because they can't reduce you to a badge anymore. They can't say, oh, you're iron, so you're trash, because your behavior contradicts the badge in front of everyone.
This explains the quote on your report, Lexi. Don't let the game tell you who you are. You tell the game. Through the way you play, the way you carry yourself, the way teammates remember you.
Riot gives you bronze? Fine. Then be bronze with stats and habits that scream platinum. Be bronze with comms that make the team gel. Be bronze with composure so strong that even your haters can't resist friending you. That's how you humiliate the badge, boy. And in doing so, you're not just rebelling, you're taking back control. The badge no longer dictates your emotions, your self-image, your identity. You do.
This is where I want to pause. Because I know some listeners are thinking, okay, but isn't rank supposed to reflect skill? And yes, in theory. But in practice, it's an approximation. It's noisy. It feels manipulated. It's incomplete. And if you tie your entire identity to it, you're volunteering for heartbreak.
Yes, boy, because even if you hit the badge you want, you'll still feel empty. You'll still wake up the next day asking, but do I deserve it? That's how imposter syndrome is born.
So the dare stands. Can you detach for 2 months? Can you focus only on visible and invisible growth and leave the badge to Riot?
They can't, boy, because the addiction is too strong. They can't handle being badgeless, even for a season. They need Riot to define them. They need the system to hand them their identity.
Exactly.
And that's why this episode is the manifesto. We're saying no more. Stop letting Riot decide who you are. Stop letting a badge enslave your mood, your pride, your value. Build your own identity, boy. Build it through mechanics that no one can deny, through habits that teammates admire, through composure that even enemies respect. That's how you show value. That's how you fight the addiction.
Well said, Lexi. And let's end this block where you ended your report, because the bluntness is the whole point. You don't know who you are yet. You think a badge will give you the answer. It won't. Lexi, the last section of your report is titled, Why Are We Score Addicted? And right away, you don't pull any punches. You write, because some of you are starving for validation. That's it.
That's the whole truth, boy. For some players, the badge isn't decoration. It's salvation. They don't see Gold 3 as a number. They see it as oxygen. The badge is a ready-made answer to the most terrifying question, who am I? And instead of building a real answer, they outsource it to the Valorant badge system.
And as you write, the game doesn't care. It hands you numbers, titles, meaningless medals. And you swallow them like painkillers.
A painkiller doesn't cure the wound, boy. It just numbs you for a while. And that's what the rank badge is for so many, a numbing agent. Instead of asking, what am I good at? What can I contribute? How do I grow? They just want a dopamine patch on the emptiness.
You call it a perversity, not ambition, but self-erasure.
Yes, because they measure life in cold transactions. What's the highest badge I can get for the least effort I can invest? That's not ambition, boy. That's cowardice. Ambition would mean pushing your limits, confronting your flaws, building something out of the suffering. But this is outsourcing identity to the scoreboard. It's erasing yourself and begging Riot to write your name for you.
You also wrote a line that stayed with me. You don't want to know who you are. You want someone else to tell you. That's heavy.
It's the core of the addiction. If you actually wanted self-knowledge, you'd spend time in the boring drills, the invisible stats, the humiliating losses that teach you patience. You'd dare to face the silence. But instead, you want a badge to whisper back. You're good. You're worthy. You're someone. That's why you're addicted.
And this is where it feels bigger than a game.
It is bigger, because this isn't just Valorant. This is the human need for validation, boy.
Absolutely.
Some people crave it more than food. They need external proof of worth because the internal reservoir is empty.
Yeah.
Maybe parents never gave it. Maybe school never affirmed it. So now the scoreboard is their therapist. Except it's a therapist that lies. And lies consistently. Because one loss streak, one tilt day, and suddenly the badge whispers the opposite. You're trash. You're worthless.
Lexi, you also talk about effort. About how the addiction isn't just to badges, but to shortcuts.
Yes, that's the perversity. They don't just want the highest badge. They want it for the least effort. That's the algorithm they live by. Maximum output with minimum input. And it's disgusting. Because it's not ambition, it's fraud. Ambition sweats. Fraud poses.
Can I say something, Lex?
Go ahead, boy.
I hear so much fire in your voice when you talk about this. It's not just theory for you, it's personal. And I respect that.
Careful, boy. People might think you're flattering me.
Well, maybe I am.
Don't do that to me on mic.
Okay, go.
Anyway, where were we? Ah, yes, addiction. Badge chasing isn't about proving skill. It's about outsourcing identity. And that's the most pathetic part. Because when you let Riot tell you who you are, you're basically announcing, I'm too scared to define myself.
And yet people do it every day. They equate their badge with their self-worth.
And that's why when they lose it, they collapse.
Yeah.
That's why loss streaks feel like existential crises. That's why tilt spirals out of control. Because their self was never built. It was borrowed.
So what's the way out?
Well, stop begging for identity. Start building it. Through your actions, your stats, your habits. Let teammates tell you who you are when they add you after the game, not Riot's badge.
Yeah.
Let your comms tell the story when you keep rounds calm instead of exploding. Let your growth prove itself. That's identity. That's real validation.
You're saying the scoreboard can never be the answer.
It can reflect. It can confirm. But it can't define. If you let it define, you've erased yourself.
That's why you called it self-erasure.
That's why, yes. You don't want to know who you are. You want someone else to tell you. That's why you keep refreshing the match history like it's scripture.
Sure.
That's why you cling to the badge like it's oxygen. Because without it, you'd have to face the terrifying possibility that you don't know yourself at all.
All right, Lex. I hope people are not thinking like they are the non-score identified folks who profess the truth. Because most part of what you said in this episode, Lex, that freaking reflects me. You spoke to my soul. And to be honest, I'm not even sure about you.
I am 100% score addicted. And that's the whole point. Our agree since the beginning was not to fantasize over theories, but speaking about what we feel for real, Rupert. No point doing something you don't feel for real.
Oh yeah, definitely. Score identification is the most important warning we've given all season.
Then maybe people will finally listen, boy. Or maybe they'll just cue another game.
All right, first question tonight comes from Stuart. He writes, can we better recap about invisible and visible stats?
Sure, boy. Let's put it plain. Today, your invisible stats look like this. You tilt after 3 rounds. You tilt hard. Sometimes you even rage quit the game entirely, and then you get banned. You let opponents provoke you in all chat, you bite every single bait, you scream back at them, and boom, another ban. That's your invisible stat line right now. Not recorded on the scoreboard, but defining your entire career.
Sure.
Now imagine you decide, I'm not going to let opponents get to me. I'm not going to let teammates' toxicity drag me down. At first it's hard, boy. Your instincts scream at you to type, to flame, to explode. But then something shifts. You realize you can actually resist. You tilt less. You only break down when you're genuinely exhausted, not every 5 minutes. Suddenly your mental stays fresh for longer periods. You go a whole season without a ban. That invisible stat just skyrocketed. And here's the punch. It's impossible to track with a number, but it changes your game more than any headshot percentage ever could. Because once your invisible stats climb, your visible stats follow. You aim steadier, you calm cleaner, you win more rounds simply because you stayed in the game instead of self-destructing.
Amazing, Lex. Alright, next question comes from Penny. She says, "Love the episode, but I still don't see a real benefit from pursuing invisible stats. Do they really make a significant change?"
Oh, they make the biggest change, boy. Let me put...
I guess Penny, she's a girl.
All right, Penny girl. Let me put it in terms everyone can feel. Imagine you're grinding the shooting range. You've been there almost an hour, trying to hit a clean 30 out of 30 so you can post it on YouTube. You get to 26. Then your brain starts annoying you with, okay, almost there. Don't fail now. And right on cue, bam, you missed 2 shots. The potential was in your hands, but something invisible sabotaged you. Performance anxiety.
Okay.
Now imagine the same player, same hands, same mouse, same desk. But the goal changes. Not 130-30, but 10 in a row. Suddenly the pressure on each run is diluted. You're calmer. You recognize the first 4 perfect runs already went through, so the single attempt doesn't carry all the weight. Result? You stack multiple 30-30s in the same session. That difference came from controlling performance anxiety. And that's an invisible stat, boy.
If I can add something, even consistency can become its own performance anxiety.
Yeah.
There are players who play really well once, and then their dream becomes to replicate that one perfect match forever. The more distance they feel from that performance, the more frustration builds, the more tilt creeps in. Why? Because they imposed the wrong goal in the first place.
True. Good point. That's also an invisible skill. Being realistic with your goals, setting expectations that don't crush you, that's invisible skill too. Valorant Tracker will never show it on a graph, but your whole career depends on it.
Alright, pulling something from the chat here. Bernadette writes, "Okay, are we going to talk about the Rupert Lexi vibe, or are you two just gonna pretend nothing's happening?"
Focus on the episode, boy.
Oh my god, folks, no gossip during the episode. I can only say working with Lexi is one of my favorite things to do in life.
Careful, boy.
Moving on. Next question. This one comes from Raj. He says, "Hi guys, this episode is harsh but eye-opening. If invisible stats matter so much, why don't devs like Riot track them?" Yes, Raj. And how do you plan to track them? How exactly is Riot supposed to track how much you rage in a match? Big Bang writes, "There must be a Riot sensor on the player's desk that captures how many times the surface is punched." Exactly.
Well, why are we trolling like this, boys? I think Big Bang... No, wait. Who asked the question in the first place?
Raj.
I think Raj actually posed a brilliant question. To put it simply, we have more than enough technology nowadays to make the invisible visible.
Sure.
Why is being an incredible IGL completely neglected by Riot's stats? Why is refusing to feed into a verbal brawl when you're down 3-10 not given any credit? Riot already records every single thing from a match. Audio, text, video. They have all the data they need to let an AI cook. Why does a lurker who collects 20 meaningless exit kills get to sit at the top of the scoreboard when their impact on the team is literally 0? What I mean is, AI is already deeply integrated into gaming these days. So why does Valorant still only count head and body shots?
Wow. I mean, wow. Do you accept it as answer, Raj? All right, time to close the episode here. Lex?
Sure. Thanks everyone for the appreciation. I hope this episode gave our listeners a different angle and a fresh perspective on rank addiction. Although apparently, a large part of our audience reports that they listen to us while they're cleaning the house. Well, in that case, we hope your house is now nice and clean. Jokes aside, it was a real pleasure preparing this episode with you, Rupert. I'm looking forward to our retrospective dinner tonight. Thank you, boy.
As always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram if you're curious for some off-air pictures. Don't let the game define you. See you next episode.